My name is Joe Keffer, and I'm recently retired too. I've been the last 5 months volunteering for a number of different things. One is I come out of the labor movement. The union that I work for is over 2 million people nationally. I've been working with the AFL-CIO, which is a statewide organization, the umbrella group for the unions here in the state of Alabama. I'm going to say some things, and if I say them correctly, hopefully they're hard-hitting. I'm not making accusations against anybody. I don't know enough about what's going on here to do that. But in the few hours that I've spent, there's certain things that jump out at me, and they sort of mirror what NAACP President Simonton said. The first point I'd like to make is that in 2008, our economy collapsed. And it collapsed basically because of greed. It collapsed when there was no regulations, when real estate people came in and made deals that were not fair, when the banks and the financial institutions came in and made huge profits, driving up the prices of housing. What happened was that the federal government came in and they bailed out big business. The people that are the working people and poor got nothing out of that agreement. That went to the saying, they got bailed out, we got sold out. Right? After that happened, what happened is that the banks, the real estate companies came in and they bought up properties. They bought them at auction. And people said, well, wait a minute, help us refinance here so that we can get our houses and keep them. A lot of people lost their jobs. They lost wages. They declared bankruptcy. They said, give us a fair break. That didn't happen. What happened was that investors and the banks brought up all the properties, and now what they're doing is that the economy's starting to improve, and they're selling them at inflated prices and making big profits. It's not a complete parallel here about what's happening at Safe Harbor, but you have to wonder. Federal government comes in and in some ways bails out. Now, it wasn't greed that caused this, it was a human thing, or not a human thing, but an environmental thing that caused what happened. But the federal government comes in, bails people out. Real estate people and developers get to pump properties. There's $18 million that's pumped into this community. And people went into houses, and I didn't read many of the documents, but one of them I basically said that this money is supposed to go for the people that were displaced by the hurricane. Right. This money is supposed to go and stay with people that were in this community that were disadvantaged by that situation. What's happening here? That rents are being jacked up. Just like properties were jacked up after 2008 and people lost their homes, people are now losing their homes here. And who's going to gain off of this thing? Increased rents, where people are driven out. Is the purpose of people being driven out so that other people can come in at higher rents and things like that, and you can turn it into a much higher level development, and the developers and other people again make out, while people who are disadvantaged and who the programs are for end up out in the street. If that's the case here, there's something really wrong. Yes. Second point I'd like to make is the sign behind you. It says faith, independence, and courage. I'd like to focus on the last two words. Independence and courage. I've represented people in city and county governments for years, and I know what the tendency is. The tendency of city councils is, well, maybe we have some potential liability here. And this, again, is I don't make any accusations here because I don't know enough about it. And somebody like your attorney comes in and says, wait a minute, don't speak up. Don't get out there and do something, because if you do, you could subject the city to some type of liability here or whatever. If that's what's going on here, I say that it's wrong. There's too much that's wrong in this situation. And I think in our hearts we know that there's things that are wrong here, that we have to do something. You as a city council are influential people in this community. If you stood up in behalf of the people that are at Safe Harbor, it could really make a difference. Yes. So we're here to say to you today, and speak up to the people that are there. And as President Simonton said, be out there with the community. Yes. They elected you. Be out there with them and help them to get a decent place.
That's right.
I just close by saying, It's time for us to stand up where there's greed. It's time for us to stand up for economic and social justice. It's time for people of all colors to come together. And if there was ever a situation, this is a melting pot of people that are being disadvantaged by what's going on here. It's time for the churches, the unions, the politicians, and the community to come together and do something about this. We're here tonight to say that we are committed. We're here to say we are going to stay the course, and we ask you to come out and do something with us. Thank you.
Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Ron Ali. I'm the local president of Mobile County. I started on Tuesday to speak as a funeral director to the Mobile City Council. In Mobile, we recently had a vote on what one councilman wanted in his district. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And what changed was a 29-year precedent that the council had made, that when a city council person wanted to appoint someone to the board, have their say on where they should be appointed, the rest of the council members agreed. I called it the stale indifference of politics. When I looked at that council, I could see that. I must admit that you look like you practice politics from the Greek word politikos, which means that you act of, for, and by the people. So the task that you've been charged with by our president, when he said that he's retired, he was told, find a way. You know, find a way that you could do what you need to do. And my modesty doesn't allow me to do this, but because I feel like I must say this, then I'm your way. I'm the way that you can find a way. Because I'm ingrained within the city of Bayou La Batre. I don't do it by choice, I do it by profession, and I do it because they call me. Reverend Charlie Jones, he's one of my best friends. I'm that way because when his members die, they call me. And I help their families at some of the worst times in their life. If you've suffered death, you know what I'm talking about. I also, every time his anniversary comes around, I send my limousine service to pick him up. Stay with him all day. All he has to do, Chief, is tip the driver. And I know your Chief. He likes good food. And after I ate at Sydney's, I came all the way back down to Bayou La Batre just to eat some of that good food. Not to see but some of the nice food that Sydney has to offer. And I just found out that you're one of the owners of the Lighthouse.
All right,
I've been supporting you for years. And every time I come in your establishment, I see a cross-section of our community. So Bayou La Batre has a lot going for itself. I'm aware of what you've just gone through. I made an extension and offer. Mr. Ramirez.
It's been pronounced 40B.
I couldn't see the eye.
So.
Couldn't see the eye from here. That we would work, and Ms. Cole is a very good friend. So what we're going to do is to put all our resources at your disposal as an organization. And we've already extended ourselves in the city of Pritchard for an eco-district. So we're going to place our resources within the confines of Mobile County, do the best that we can. The reason why I can say that is because I'm really President Simonton's second vice president in the Alabama State Conference. And I keep telling him the vision is in Mobile County and South Mobile, and you all can help me prove that.
Watch
By
out.
working with us, I know that's somebody to test me.
Amen.
And she falls within my area, so she's so proud. We're offering ourselves as a partner. You know, many people come in here and they beat up on me. I know how it feels. Like get beat up every day. So if you're looking for partners, we'll partner with you, bring our resources, work with you, and I like to work quietly so we can make changes for the citizens that need quiet changes, that are consistent. And different from them, I'm not an hour away. I'm not 5.5 hours away, 4 hours away. I'm really 30 minutes away. I'll give you my information, call me at any time, and I'll be back to work with you to make changes.
Amen.
Okay?
And eat the cities.
Say it again.
And to eat cities.
All the time.